If we look at any older or less modern tradition, they have places within that tradition for connection to everything that is. Now, in English language, we don't have any words left that describe the overarching process of livingness, all joined up. So we have nouns, which are discrete chunks of stuff, joined together by doing words, verbs. You know, I, you. And so the subjective experience, the subjective self-sense or ego, is about the peak point of the development of Western psychology, and that is it. Now, I've got people like Ken Wilber who've done great work. I mean, his book Spectrum of Consciousness is incredible, which he wrote when he was 23, in 1973, I believe. Now, that book joined together Western psychology and the more traditional Asian developmental philosophies through meditative practice into transpersonal consciousness. So it joined the personal and the transpersonal. So we have to understand that in those cultures where the transpersonal consciousness was seen as a developmental possibility even, they had words to describe the joined upness of everything. Now, one of those words from India is prana. And prana refers to the living, electromagnetic, vibrational, life force quality of everything. It's often defined as the sum total of everything in the universe. So prana is a word that describes joined upness. And of course, if you have a child growing up in a culture which insists and reminds you that everything is joined up because it is, yeah, then that changes the way you think. You don't end up being such a self-focused, self-oriented, separate lump of stuff in space-time doing your own little thing. There's much more of a collective vision of vastness. Another word from the Indian or Vedic domain is Brahman. So you'll find many words like this. The Tao is another one, the way from China. And we have words like Qi from China, which refer to the same thing as prana, or Ki from Japan, or Ka from Egypt. And within the Native American worlds, we have many languages there, many cultures, many tribes, and the overarching experience of the Great Spirit, Wakantanka or Watankatnkashla. These different ways of describing living joined upness. Now, it's very simple to get into that. If we get into ecology for a moment and begin to understand that our breath is made of carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, air, yeah? And the oxygen in that breath was made by plants. We are not separate from plants. We breathe in oxygen. That oxygen goes into every single cell in the body. Those cells use that oxygen to process the liberation of biochemical energy from the bonds between carbon and hydrogen, which itself was made by plants in photosynthesis. So the fact that we can move, think, talk, I can move my fingers like this, is because of plants. I am not independent of plants. I am not independent of breath. I am not independent of rivers. If I take a drink of water, that is rain, that is rivers moving through me, which comes out the other end. Everything is joined up. And we seem to have forgotten this in the Western world, and we act in very ignorant ways based on that illusion of separation. So a return to the systemic, integral, and joined up understanding of what and how things really are is crucial. So having that framework of operation of joined upness, the vastness of interdependence, what Buddhists call interdependent arising, is very, very important as a developmental step for the human species. Now, within those frameworks of understanding of Brahman, of the totality, I'm going to use that word, of the totality of joined upness, quantum informational field, call it what you want. Yeah. Within the yogic traditions, they have a place for prayer. Now, prayer is the mind and the heart joined together in an active finding of deeper connection, of deeper understandings of that inseparability. And one of the key elements for most of those traditions is conscious breath. So when the breath is brought down to at least 6 seconds for an inhale and 6 seconds for an exhale, that starts to take the body-mind into a place of almost immediate deeper connection by relaxing us into an alpha state and possibly deeper into a theta state, which enables us to feel more fully that sense of connectivity. Now we know with the super coherent breath, it's possible to take the breath into much deeper than that, 1 breath a minute. And 1 breath a minute is going to take you into a place of very deep stillness in terms of the mind. So in that depth of stillness in the mind, it's useful sometimes to have vibrational guides. Now the principle of Shabda Brahman is we use vibration as a guide to take us deeper in, beyond thinking, beyond logic, beyond rationality, into spaces of very, very deep awareness. Now, 2 of the key sounds, there are different sounds in different cultures. So for example, in Kundalini Yoga, you'll find Satanama. Satanama. Satanama is a common one. Om Namo Gurudev Namo is another. Satanama, in the vibration of truth. It means in the vibration of truth. Sata is truth, living truth. Satanama. Nama is name, but it's also vibration. Satanama. And there are many others. In Buddhism, you might find, in some strands of Buddhism, you'll find Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om is all the states of consciousness, awakened consciousness. Yeah? Mani is the crystal, unconditioned jewel of mind. Yeah? Padme is the open lotus of the heart, the compassionate open lotus of the heart. And Hung is embodiment, living in this flesh. It's active, it's dynamic, it's here, it's now. Om Mani Padme Hum. May I be this. Yeah? Consciousness, the open jewel of mind, compassionate lotus of the heart, living and moving in this world. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's prayer. Yeah? And that's done, again, the chant happens around about 6 seconds for the inhale, 6 seconds for the exhale. So it takes one into that place, working with vibration of going deep into a theta state. Many other traditions have similar type of things. Native American tradition, the Christian tradition, Ave Maria, and many chants from different elements of the Christian tradition that do the same thing. What does systemic mean? Well, systemic means that everything is part of a system, a holon within holons. Everything is interconnected. Everything is interdependent and arises together connected. Whether you like it or not, that's how it is. So one of the problems with the modern industrial civilization is that it seems to have forgotten that. So it seems to be okay to put lots of pollutants into a river and down into the ocean, forgetting that we are the ocean and the ocean informs all of life. You can't do that and get away with it, not forever anyway. So systemic is landing ourselves back into the recognition of how things are at that systemic level. There is another level which I call integral, but we'll do that later. So the systemic level is important here. And we do that using the elements. So the elements in and of themselves don't exist. I mean, they're representing states of existence. So solidity, the earth element, represents solidity. But I mean, something that's solid can melt and it can turn into gas. So something that's solid is also potentially liquid and potentially gaseous, and it's all space. So you can see that the elements themselves don't actually exist, but we use them as representatives for our experience of these things. So if I were to say to you that air is solid, it wouldn't make any sense, would it? But of course, nitrogen can be frozen, and so can hydrogen, and so can oxygen. So you can get liquid or even solid nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. But it just doesn't happen here on planet Earth very much. Well, at all. States of matter. So solidity is the experience of the matrix of bound crystalline structure. Water is fluidity, that which is less bound and flows. The thermal quality of fire is where that electromagnetic energy is in process of transformation. So chemical bonds are being broken and released into heat and light. And gaseousness is where the molecules or the atoms are so far apart, there's lots of space in the movement. And space is where everything's wide open. Yeah? And it's the foundational structure of all other states. Interestingly, in the Western world, everybody thinks that earth element or solidity is safe. So everybody's trying to grab houses and land. You know, the pathologies of the Western world are in earth element pathology, water element pathology, and fire element pathology. And that manifests as trying to get a big piece of land with a big fence around it and keep yourself safe inside by building a fortress. And you've kind of forgotten the fact that you're going to die. So when you get the fortress, you're dead. So what? Yeah. Water element pathology is about emotions. It's about wanting that emotion, wanting that goodness, that happiness. We all want happiness. We're all chasing happiness, and we want that good sensation from sex or whatever. It's happy emotions and sex. Happy emotions, sex. I want it now. I want all of that. I don't want anything else. You have to have other things with it. It doesn't work like that. And the third one is about power. It's about power, and power in the modern world has been confused with dominance. Power comes from the Latin word potere, which means the ability to do something. And what power has become confused with is dominance, which is the ability to make somebody else do something. That's not power, that's dominance. I guess you have the ability to make somebody else do something. That's the ability you have, right? But it's not really about that. So empowerment is where we're mutually empowered and we celebrate each other's abilities and capacities and work together to enable that for each other. We're not seeking dominance over each other, which again is a hierarchical kind of thing that's come out of the way culture has been created. So with these practices, we're seeking the freedom to be in relationship with these elements in the way that we choose to be, and also to cultivate a sense of relaxation and ease with those elements. And this is a really important part of practice. So if you look at a book like something like the Bardo Thodol, anybody heard of the Bardo Thodol? Probably not. If I say the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you might have come across that title, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. And one of the points about that is that in the process of dying, which happens at the end of a life, but also happens at each moment between thoughts, there's a relationship of gripping and fear, or relaxation and ease, in relationship to the experience of solidity, fluidity, thermal qualities, gaseousness, and spaciousness. So in the process of death, if we use that one dying, the body goes solid and cold. And your relationship with that lump of now almost meat becomes problematic. And if you've been hanging on in there as the body is the only reality, then there's going to be some fear. The blood stops running a little bit. It starts getting cold and it stops running. That's the fluid element, water element. And if that can be terrifying all of a sudden, And this all happens in microseconds, of course. But it feels like forever. And then you have the heat of the body going. It gets really cold. So your relationship with fire changes. And then gaseousness. There's no breath. You can't breathe. There's no gas. There's no oxygen in the cells anymore. There's nothing. So the relaxation and ease in relationship to those elements is about dying well. And dying well means dying to each moment well, not just at the end of life. Dying to letting each moment dissolve away and arising afresh in the new moment. It's a rebirth in the new moment. And it's these kind of practices that enable us to cultivate that healthy relationship with what is, so that we can relax into life and be creative and powerful and have some fun too. Fun's an important part. Like we said right at the beginning, the mantra was what? Effort, 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 the right right place. Relax, relax, relax. enjoy, and integrate. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to take you through this systemic breath process, this systemic breath meditation in a very simple way. So again, when you're ready, sit comfortably, any way you want to. You could lie down too. And bring your attention down into the base of the body. And cultivate the feeling of solidity. The crystalline matrix, the rocks, the earth, muscles and bones. And it's an easy, relaxed breath. Almost letting the breath do exactly what it wants, but just focusing in on that earth quality of the body. I know I learned practices like this from my teachers. I learned to do this for 20 minutes at a time for a week, sometimes a month, before moving on to the next one. But we're going to go a little faster with this. And you can take your time. It's worth really feeding into this. That's the breath exactly as it is. Feel that earth element. Now begin to extend the out-breath, lengthen, double the length of the out-breath. Easy in-breath, double the length of the out-breath. And shift your attention into the watery nature of the body, the making rivers of the body. 70% of you at least is water. It's blood. It's tissue fluids, cerebrospinal fluid flow. It's all flowing. It's all pumping. And if you tune into the blood and to the pumping of the body, you'll feel the heartbeat. And that's the fluid body pumping continuously. And everything in the body is slowly pulsing. And you feel into that double out breath length. The cells in the body are making water. An outcome of cellular respiration is water production. You're actually making rivers in the body, making clouds. To feel into this water element, really feel it, fully feel it. And each of these elements you're going to fully feel, and then fully let go and move on. Feel that rhythm, that pulse, feel it. Relax into it. Relax, relax. And let go. And then bring your attention to the thermal quality of the body. Fire, warmth of the skin, of the breath, of the belly. We've talked about this being ancient sunlight. Breaking of those chemical bonds made in the plants that were themselves made from sunlight. Now it's being broken in your body and that heat is being released. And you're feeling it. Let yourself feel this fire element, connecting it to the sun. And relax into it, relax into it. And let it go, let it go. And into gaseousness, into the breath. Notice the breath in the nostrils. It's funny really when you think about it, but just about everything in your body is made of gas. gas that's twisted up into the appearance of solidity, but it's made of carbon dioxide, which is where carbon comes from, partly. And hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen, they're all gases. And they're bound up together into sugars and starches and proteins. And you've got minerals from the earth like sodium, calcium, and from the rivers and the oceans, magnesium. So feel into that gaseousness, that airiness. Feel the breath flow. And let it go. Let it go. And into space, the space the body is in. The space around the body. The space between atoms and the space inside of atoms. Quantum space. The space between thoughts and feelings. Space between. And land yourself in the space between. Relax into it. Relax into it. And notice that as you're relaxing into the space between, there's awareness. There's awareness in each of these elements. Land yourself as awareness, in awareness. Awareness of space. Awareness of air, gaseousness. Fire. The fluidity of water. And of solidity, earth. Encourage a full inhale now, long, slow, full inhale. Long, slow exhale. Just a few breaths. And take a deep in-breath and hum on the out-breath. And again, deep in-breath. Hum on the out-breath. And you can do as many as hums as works, but it's just a way of vibrating yourself, integrating some of the practice. And sometimes short practices are the best. That's a short practice, which you can repeat often, you can repeat it really easily, and you can cultivate that healthier relationship with those elemental experiences of your own body, mind, and the world around you.